Imagine you got the chance to meet your favorite movie star. Who would it be? Brad Pitt, Leonardo DiCaprio? What would you ask them? Maybe favorite interests, things they like to do, things they love. What if you asked them about their religious beliefs? Here's a look at what one of the most popular actors of all time, Morgan Freeman, had to say when answering this question about religion.
Forgiveness is extremely important in life.
I like that. Religious. Are you religious? Do you
No.
believe in something? Anything?
Yeah, believe in me.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you don't believe in anything else?
Anything else?
Well, it's a religious thing. Like, is it in God or is there something like that?
Well, you can separate God from religion, which that's what I do. I believe in God. I believe in me. Same person.
Whoa, that's kind of a crazy answer. What's going on here? Either Morgan Freeman still thinks he's playing God from the movie Bruce Almighty, or he subscribes to the idea, the way of thinking, the religious notion of pantheism. In this video, we're gonna talk about the ancient philosophical roots of pantheism and how these roots produced the antidote that leads us to our Catholic faith. Pantheism is basically the idea that God and the universe are synonymous. They're the same. So you're God, I'm God, this desk is God, the trees are God, everything is God. It comes from pan, which means all, and theos, which means God. Let's go back to where everything started. In ancient Greece, there was a group of thinkers that we refer to as the pre-Socratics, or before Socrates. They lived in the Ionian region of Greece, and they were so fascinated with the universe, with being. They wanted to find out what's the thing that holds it all together. What's the one thing that makes everything that it is? What they were looking for is called the arche, or like the one principal thing, the thing that composes everything. And at the start, they had very basic ideas. There was a thinker named Thales who said, it's water. Everything has to be water. And of course, to us modern thinkers, that sounds really silly, but I mean, he's kind of close. Like, you're 70% water, I'm 70% water. Water's gotta be the thing. Other thinkers like Heraclitus said it was fire. It's the process of burning and heat and cooling that makes everything. Other thinkers such as Anaximenes thought everything was air. It's how much air is in a thing that makes it what it is. Here's the catch. While they were looking for a material cause for the universe that all thing is composed of, they still had bits of myth worked into their thinking. So while they believed water is everything, fire is everything, air is everything, they still believed that this divinity, there was a divine nature to all material things that was forming and shaping the world in these material arches. Are you seeing the first instances of pantheistic thought? Next up, after thinkers searching for a material cause, we have the first philosophers who look for metaphysical reasons, metaphysical causes, metaphysical principles of the universe, such as Anaximander, who thought, well, one material element could never produce its opposite. Like water could never produce fire. That doesn't make sense. Therefore, there must be some immaterial cause that is infinite, that is changeless, that he called the unbounded. So it's still this one thing that makes everything. But now, whoa, we have not just a material claim, but something immaterial and above. We see the ancient Greek philosophers saying everything's one material thing, but also everything's one metaphysical reality. You start to see this oneness, this hidden element of pantheistic thought emerging. The next school of philosophers to discuss is the Stoics, and they're so popular nowadays. You see their quotes all over social media. They appeal to a lot of young men specifically, as they encourage a life of discipline, asceticism, practicing virtue, not giving into comfort or pleasures, but their physics, how they viewed the universe, is very pantheistic. I would encourage some guys sharing these quotes on social media to look at how they viewed the universe. For the Stoics, the heavens, the earth, everything is God. This is a quote from a Stoic, Diogenes Laertius, who writes, Zeno, our founder, says the whole world and heaven are the substances of God. We think of this even in St. Paul in the book of Acts. He quotes a Stoic philosopher where he says, in him we move and live and have our being. St. Paul's saying, hey, this spirit, this God that you're talking about, this pantheistic tendency, is actually the Judeo-Christian transcendent God. That's what you're looking for. But for the Stoics, their physics was nature was driving everything. All that is in this process of fire becoming and this cataclysmic fire returning back to the basics. And for the Stoics, the best thing to do is just to resign to nature. Don't be affected by emotions or anything that's out of your control. Just trust this pantheistic divine process of nature. So what have we observed so far? First is the arisal of monism. Monism is the idea that everything is one unified thing. It started off with a material monism, right? Remember, everything's water, everything's fire, everything's air, but it also included a metaphysical monism, where all real beings, even though they seem different, they're one. And then thirdly, we see this arisal of the divine in this oneness. Divinity driving everything, such as in the logos of Heraclitus or the nature of the Stoics. So these three things, this material monism, this metaphysical monism, but also divinity in the monism. Pantheism alarms should be going off. But then we have the arrival of Aristotle to save the day. Aristotle was a student of Plato in Plato's Academy. He's known as the great synthesizer. We see in his writings summaries and accounts of the pre-Socratic thinkers. And Aristotle said, yes, it's great to know what material the universe is made out of. Yes, it's great to make metaphysical claims about the universe. But if you want to know what the universe is, you have to know what caused it. For Aristotle to know a thing, you have to know its cause. Causality was everything. In Aristotle's work, Metaphysics, he does poke fun at the pre-Socratics. And he says they were so close, but they were really only talking about one aspect of causality, the material cause. And he compares them to like untrained soldiers or like untrained boxers who are like only when they get lucky, they land a hit. And he's here to show really how to box and go after the four causes of being, which are the material cause, the formal cause, the efficient cause, and the final cause. So to know what the universe is, to know what anything is, we have to know material cause. What is it made out of? We have to know the formal cause. What's the pattern or form that shapes it or makes it what it is? The efficient cause, what made it? What is the cause for its existence? And fourth, the final cause, which is the end for which it was made for. And once again, he says, these pre-Socratics, they're really only talking about the material cause. Why is it so important to know more than the material cause? Well, Aristotle says, knowing the material cause doesn't explain why the material cause is there and what has set it in motion. For example, he says, it can't be the thing itself that makes it change. Like wood doesn't make itself a chair. Marble doesn't make itself a statue. There's something acting on it. There's a cause that moves it to change. And consequently, if we have something, let's call A, something B needs to be working on A to change it. But then something has to be working on B to set that in motion. So C has to be acting on B, but then D needs to be acting on C. And we have this like infinite chain. But there can't be an endless chain of cause and effects. Something had to start it. Something had to act on the universe to set things in motion. So what is this thing? Aristotle calls it the prime mover. He calls it God, and he says it's immaterial, unchanging, it's an eternal being that's responsible. It's the first move. It set everything in motion. It's responsible for all being and change in the universe. So this is a critical turning point. We can't have a material cause for the universe. We need an efficient cause. We need a reason that sets everything in motion. And this efficient cause must be transcendent. Now, when Aristotle says God, it's not the same thing as how we view God as Catholics. For example, he says, prime mover, it's pure actuality, it's perfection, and it's pure thought. So it can only be thinking perfect things, and it's perfect, so it can only be thinking about himself. And everything in the universe is being drawn to this perfection. So the prime mover causes movement in everything, and it is the final cause of being, the prime mover. St. Thomas Aquinas received this way of viewing God from Aristotle and baptized the terminology to describe the Christian God. For Aquinas, God is the very act of to be, the very act of existence. He's pure actuality, just as Aristotle says. He's pure actuality. He's got no potential. His essence, what he is his existence. That he is. His essence is existence. And St. Thomas Aquinas calls this the real distinction. And for Thomas, God created the universe ex nihilo, out of nothing. And being, all we observe, serves as a gift from the giver. But the gift is distinct from the giver. So in other words, all of creation participates in God's existence, but is distinct from God himself. So how can we use Aristotelian philosophy to dismiss pantheism, such as the way that St. Thomas Aquinas used the language of Aristotle? Very simply, I would say, everything demands a cause, specifically an efficient cause. And a material thing cannot be its own efficient cause. There must be something that caused it, that created it. So the universe that we see could not have caused itself. There must be some pure, actual cause to avoid an infinite regress of efficient causes that are material. There must be something at the very start, a first mover, a first causer that's distinct from the material itself. Reason leads us to say the material universe must be distinct from God. And revelation leads us to say that God is the loving Father of Christianity. So in closing, we can see how the ideas of the first ancient Greek thinkers gave rise to pantheism, but it also gave rise to the antidote. As the first Greek thinkers gave rise to monism, saying everything comes from one material or everything is metaphysically one. This led future thinkers such as Aristotle to grapple with these realities and offer a correct interpretation of causality, to understand not only what a thing is, not only what the universe is, but why it is. We need to know its efficient cause. And God can't be the material cause of the universe, but he can be the efficient cause of the universe. Here's a few more critiques of pantheism. Pantheism makes God too small. It takes God, who is transcendent, ever greater, incomprehensible for us to imagine. He is so great, and shrinks him down into created being. God is greater than created being. Secondarily, it lacks a competent explanation for evil and suffering in the world. If there's evil and suffering in the world, but the world is God, what does that mean? That is very problematic. Additionally, if everything's just God and when we die we go into God and it doesn't really provide a moral framework, and it doesn't provide impetus, incentive to be a moral person. Lastly, as God is no longer different than us, but he's made smaller, he's made synonymous with the universe, it's a really good avenue to atheism. It's basically just a fancy way of saying that there is no God. This is a really powerful quote from Arthur Schopenhauer, who says, "Pantheism is a self-defeating concept because the concept of a God presupposes a world different from him as an essential correlate. If, on the other hand, the world is supposed to take over his role, then an absolute world without God remains. Hence, pantheism is only a euphemism for atheists." So, God can't be the universe because the universe demands an efficient cause, a primary mover, a first mover that's distinct from the universe, that it is its efficient cause. And Morgan Freeman, what would we say to Morgan Freeman when he says to us, "I am God"? I think we could gently say, "Morgan, did you create yourself?" And the answer is no. And thusly, Morgan, you are not your own efficient cause. However, the good news is that your causer, the thing that caused you, is a loving Father, is divinity that is so great, powerful, wonderful beyond our comprehension. He gave you your existence as a gift because he wants you to be in relationship with him. He wants to love you and share with you the fullness of happiness in this life and the next. And I think that's way better, being in relationship, than you being God. So thank you for watching this video explaining the roots of pantheism. God bless you.